And just about every corner of the globe, in every culture you can think of, you'll find these stories. Tales of beings that can walk that razor-thin line between human and animal. So today, we are going deep into the comparative mythology of the shapeshifter to really try and understand one of humanity's most enduring and frankly fascinating creations. And that brings us to the big question, right? The one that's at the heart of this whole analysis. And just about every corner of the globe, in every culture you can think of, you'll find these stories. Tales of beings that can walk that razor-thin line between human and animal. So today, we are going deep into the comparative mythology of the shapeshifter to really try and understand one of humanity's most enduring and frankly fascinating creations. And that brings us to the big question, right? The one that's at the heart of this whole analysis. Why? Why is this idea so incredibly universal? What is it about the act of transformation that has so completely captured the human imagination for, well, thousands of years? So, here's our game plan. We're going to start by defining the shapeshifter archetype itself. Then we'll dive into a classic case study, the werewolf. From there, we'll broaden our scope to a whole global menagerie of these creatures. We'll decode the Folkloric Rulebook for how to deal with them. Finally, we'll tie it all together to see what common threads connect all of the incredible myths. First things first, what exactly is a shapeshifter? Well, it's way more than just a single type of monster. It's a powerful, universal archetype. It's a recurring symbol that represents the blurry, often scary line between our civilized world and the untamed wilderness, between the human and the beast that might just be lurking inside all of us. And to really get a grip on this archetype, there is no better place to start than with the West's most famous and influential example, the werewolf. I mean, if we can break down the mythology of the lycanthrope, we can build a solid framework for understanding pretty much any other shapeshifter out there. One of the most fascinating things about werewolf folklore is this perfect duality, this balance. The creature has all this incredible power, right? Superhuman strength, regeneration. But then it also has these very specific, very symbolic weaknesses. Think about it. Silver and wolfsbane aren't just random poisons. They represent something pure, something natural. It stands in direct opposition to the werewolf's unnatural state. This careful balance of power and vulnerability, that's a classic signature of mythological beings. And you know, the old stories don't just describe the monster, they tell you exactly what to do about it. These aren't just random hunting tips, they're basically cultural protocols for engagement. The myths lay out a whole methodology. First, prepare yourself with the right symbolic tools. Second, use clever tactics like stealth. And third, and this is absolutely crucial, learn how to identify the threat before it even has a chance to transform. You can almost think of these clues as the myth's diagnostic criteria. It's like folklore gives you this checklist, suggesting that the beast within is never perfectly hidden. It always leaves these little traces. The strange color of their eyes, the sharp teeth, their sudden craving for raw meat. Basically turns your neighbor into a puzzle that you desperately need to solve. Alright, so with that werewolf framework firmly in our minds, let's zoom out a bit. The lycanthrope is really just one species in this huge global menagerie of shapeshifters. So how do other cultures from around the world conceptualize this same powerful archetype? And this is where you really see incredible diversity. In Japan, you have the kitsune. It's not about brute force. It's a cunning fox spirit famous for its intellect and its trickery. In some Native American traditions, the skinwalker is actually a sorcerer who gains the ability to take animal form through dark, forbidden magic. In Hindu and Buddhist myths, the serpentine naga are these powerful, sometimes even divine beings, tied to water and treasure. You see how each culture molds the archetype to reflect its own unique anxieties and values? It's amazing. And then, of course, you have the ultimate wild card. The shape-shifting demon. This is kind of catch-all category. Unlike the others, which usually have a main animal form they stick to, this entity is pure chaos. Its defining trait is that it lacks a fixed profile. It represents a more abstract fear, the fear of deception, of an evil that can wear any face to get what it wants. So, if the world is filled with all these incredibly varied supernatural threats, how does folklore arm humanity against them? Well, let's deconstruct the countermeasures, which we can really think of as a kind of folkloric rulebook for surviving supernatural. Okay, rule number one in the book is all about using symbolic materials. We already saw how silver works against werewolves, but this pattern is everywhere. Holy water against demons, or even something as simple as catnip against werecat. These aren't just random objects, they're items loaded with cultural meaning, purity, faith, nature, that directly oppose the creature's own supernatural power. Rule number two is about sacred rituals. For shapeshifters that are deeply tied to spiritual traditions, like the skinwalker, the naga, or a demon, the countermeasure isn't a physical object, it's a specific process. The lore says you have to use specific chants or religious symbols or go see a spiritual leader. It's all about fighting supernatural chaos with the structure and order of human faith and tradition. And then the third, absolutely critical rule is specialized knowledge. A one-size-fits-all defense just won't cut it. To be a clever kitsune, for example, the folklore is very clear. You have to know about its specific weakness to fire. It's a theme that comes up again and again. You have to truly understand the specific myth you are facing if you want to have any chance of survival. So, after looking at all these different archetypes and rulebooks, what's the big takeaway? Well, when you start to pull all these different threads together, you realize something. The stories stop being just about monsters, and they start being about us. They reveal the deep-seated human framework for how we confront any kind of crisis. I mean, look at the principles you can distill from these myths. They're surprisingly practical. Research your opponent, seek out expert advice, be incredibly cautious, and use every single resource you have available. These aren't just tips for hunting monsters. This is a timeless strategy for how to navigate a dangerous and unpredictable world. And this quote right here, it just says it all, doesn't it? Across every single culture and for every single type of shifter, the most powerful weapon in your arsenal is always knowledge. Understanding the threat, its habits, its strengths, its weaknesses, that is always presented as the first